Hello guys, Alex Fedotoff here, and today we have an amazing guest here, Adonis, in the house. So Adonis is one of our clients in the ESS program, amazing entrepreneur that started operating his own business, but now he evolved into more like acquisitions, brokering deals, e-commerce businesses and other kind of businesses. So super excited to have you here, Adonis.
Thank you, Alex. It's great to be here finally.
Tell me more about yourself.
I was born in Belgium, moved to Togo when I was about 2 years old. I went to school there, and then I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, here in the U.S. When I was around 11. So my parents were a bit older, so like my dad actually is about 80 years old right now. I'm 23, so he had a lot of kids. He had like 13 kids. I was the last one.
Oh wow!
So since they were older, they kind of knew that they wanted me to be prepared for They didn't want me to kind of how it is when you're older parents. You want your kids to be able to be independent early.
Yeah.
So I started school early at 3. I graduated high school at
3 years old?
Yeah, I started school at 3, which is honestly over there, and even over there in on the continent, a lot of people graduate a bit early, just because there's not like a lot of like legal, things stopping people from starting school early. People don't care, and there's a lot of older parents as well.
Oh wow!
So like I ended up graduating high school at 15. I have a sister who did the same as well, and then did the whole corporate thing. African parents usually want you to go to school, become a doctor, a lawyer, things like that. And
is that something that you consider, like becoming a lawyer or a doctor?
I was going into finance, so I wanted to go into investment banking.
Oh, nice. That's not bad.
That was kind of my thing. Then I actually took finance classes. I went to school, did internships, and I started being around like investment banking. I realized I didn't like the culture at all.
Really? Tell me more about that.
It's great, very, very smart people, very good people, but they tend to be very like just pure sharks. Like it's just all about the numbers, all about the money. They're just a culture of working people 80 hours a week because they just came in from school and they have to earn their stripes. Or I've always been a bit somewhat impatient to where I don't see why I should wait 5-10 years to become a partner or something, right? Like exactly. That being said, though, I must say, even though I'm really happy with the track that I took doing e-commerce and all of that, I do think investment banking would have been good just for the network. Even though I have some investment bankers, in my network, I kind of talked about, I definitely see the benefit. Like even when I speak to them in their own network, for sure, it's kind of worth it in a way. But I wouldn't change anything though. I think e-commerce gave me industry experience that allows me to do the deals I do now.
And you're pretty young, so you're 23 years old?
Correct.
So, and you started with e-commerce, like you said, like some grades like 15 or 16 years old, right?
Right. So since I graduated at like 15, right, I was looking for ways to make money. So I'm like 15, and there's not at 15 in the US, there's not too many good jobs that you can have. So I was just always looking for ways to make money, right?
And so part of that, like what, like being like kind of the family, like you have to provide, you have to take care of yourself, even help some of your family members, right? That's probably gave you some...
To be honest, I was very fortunate that I'm the youngest. I have like older siblings. And so luckily I didn't have to take care of really anybody but myself, to be honest. I had a very like really good background and upbringing, luckily. But at the same time, since my parents were still in Togo, I was living with my older siblings who were still in school or, had just graduated. So even for things like a haircut or things like that, just for myself, I didn't want to put that on them, put that burden on them, because they're my siblings and they're being like my second parents. But it wasn't really, their duty to, pay for my haircut, things like that. So that's just for basic things like shoes and, I wanted to be able to do that for myself, basically.
So what did you do to make money?
So at first I just got a job at a tire shop, and I hated it because it had me stacking tires, all day, and my back was hurting. So I started getting into like online businesses.
What was your entry point, like Tai Lopez?
I took the SMMA course actually.
Yeah?
I took the SMMA course originally when I was like 16.
Half of our team here, I just discovered recently, half of our team was like, yes, but you guys, like, I didn't know that.
And it was impossible not to see his ads. 2016, like everybody saw his ads, so it was like, But I learned about drop shipping. I started on eBay actually.
Oh, interesting.
I was drop shipping like stuff from AliExpress, iPhone cases.
Oh, me too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I did that back in the day. The replica cases.
Yep.
Spigens, some South Korean company until they shut me down.
Yep, got my account suspended, a few accounts suspended actually. Then I was drop shipping like loafers, but nothing crazy, you know, for me at the time, especially when I then started school, I had like jobs during school, like part-time jobs. I was actually working a lot during school. I was working like 2 jobs in school.
Oh, wow.
And still kind of doing the drop shipping thing. But at the time I hadn't realized just the, you know, how much potential is into this drop shipping thing. So I was doing like maybe 2-3K a month, and to me that was like,
oh wow,
that's
pretty solid.
At the time,
people make that full-time jobs, you know.
Right. So at the time, it was like I'm paying my bills. There's still a little bit of money left in my PayPal account.
Yeah.
At the end of the month, so this is cool. But I didn't really like actually scale it really hard, and I remember I wanted to do my own thing with my own website, and then I was trying to learn Facebook ads at the time, and I spent like $500, and I thought that was the end of the world. And I was like, nah, forget this. Like, I'm gonna keep dropshipping on marketplaces. But then, yeah, fast forward, just went through school, had internships at Coca-Cola, Delta, worked in data science there, and then realized like this IT thing, you know, is better than investment banking, at least for me, because I have more of a laid back kind of personality. Which is why I kind of went more of the tech route. So worked, you know, in data science at Coca-Cola.
You could have made like 150, 200 G's a year there, right? Easy.
Well, no? After a few years, like entry level at Coca-Cola, I think it was like 85,000. You know, which wasn't bad. 'Cause I was like 20 when I graduated college, so it wasn't bad. And then I had the possibility. This is one thing that I was really interested in, was working at BlackRock.
Oh wow!
A couple of friends, I ended up going there, and they were making a little bit more money for sure. But then it was the same story: the stress, you know, the hours. It just kind of didn't add up for me. And so 2020, when I graduated, is when I kind of went full-time with e-commerce. And it was also during the pandemic, so it was perfect timing.
So, okay, coming into like e-commerce, what were the products you focused on, or what was the initial kind of like strategy, and how that evolved over time for you?
That's a great question. So even in 2020, I was still doing the drop shipping on marketplaces thing. So I'm still selling on eBay, right? And then actually one of my VAs, because I had it automated with VAs, we were just doing retail arbitrage. So I stopped doing the AliExpress thing. Funny story with that too. But I was selling these loafers originally from AliExpress. They had a bunch of orders one day. I was to me, I was scaling hard at the time. Like, it was like, wait, this is great. 4 or 5K in a week, to me, that was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Then I went for a spring break vacation. And I was like, yo, this is amazing. This is great. And I come back and none of my orders are fulfilled because my supplier actually, it wasn't the loafers that we were selling, but they were selling some other product that was a replica of something. Right. So the loafers were not even branded. So that was fine. But they were selling some other branded product that was a replica. So they got shut down. And so their whole factory couldn't ship anything. So I had to cancel all of those orders. So, you know, that obviously was not fun. And so instead of dropshipping from AliExpress, I started dropshipping from Walmart. So I was,
from where?
From Walmart. So I was doing the retail arbitrage thing. Walmart selling on eBay.
Interesting.
Amazon selling on eBay. But the margins are really low, like 10%. But VAs were doing all of the work. So at this point, I wasn't doing any product research. I just had VAs from the Philippines, finding products on Walmart, Amazon.
How do you, so you managed VAs directly yourself?
Yeah, so I found them on onlinejobs.ph at the time. And, you know, I was just telling them, hey, this is, you know, Zik Analytics. This is what we use for eBay. This is how you find products. Just list, you know, 15, 20 products a day. And margins need to be at least 10%. And they were doing really well because they also had, most of them sometimes had more experience than me. Because they had been working for other drop shippers and things like that. So then...
Does that model still work? Is this thing or no?
It works, but I wouldn't do it. The margins are so thin, you know, 10% or less. And then on top of that, eBay will suspend your account. PayPal will put hold.
eBay doesn't like drop shippers, right?
They don't. It was easier back then. Now it's tough. They call it the MC011 suspension. Everybody gets that. And that's basically your drop shipper. We found out we don't want you selling here anymore. That's what happens a lot. And then they hold your funds and things like that. So I don't recommend it.
So when hiring those few people, first people, that was your first hiring experience?
Yes.
Yes.
That was my.
So how was that like, kind of like, did you have any kind of like major like realizations throughout that, like in terms of hiring people, managing people, you know, making sure that, you know, they get the work up to your standards?
Honestly, the biggest realization was once I hired one really good VA that was doing all of the listings for me, and I never had to list a product again. And it was just, it actually slowly started seeing the business kind of go up in terms of volume and revenue because they were consistently listing products. Whereas when I was listing myself, I had to list products, and I also had to go figure out, okay, which credit card am I going to use to fulfill all of these, then customer service. And then when I just had them handle that, they were consistently listing products for me, and
free up your time.
That was huge for me because it was like, wow, you know, I'm spending way less time, literally less than 4 hours a week on this. And, you know, it's doing really well. At least at the time, it was doing really well for me. You know, because I was still very young. Then actually one of my VAs told me about Facebook Marketplace in 2020. They were like, yo, you should check out Facebook. I'm like, okay, why not? So I started listing some of the products on Facebook Marketplace because Facebook had just introduced a shipping option. So then we went from like doing maybe 15K revenue on eBay, at barely like 1,500 profit a month, to like 4K profit on Facebook Marketplace our first month.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, once again, very low numbers compared to, you know, building a brand and things like that. But, you know, it was all passive, right? It was just
that's
listing
crazy.
a bunch of products, and I was just like, oh, this is cool.
Is that model still works?
It works, but what happened is a lot of Amazon automation companies, I know you heard about Amazon automation.
Oh, Amazon, Amazon automation. They charge you like 30, 50K, like to kind of like build the business for you, right?
Correct.
They got into this?
Exactly. Once their Amazon stores kind of started, you know, having issues, a lot of people brought their clients over to Facebook, and we slowly started seeing way more competition, and, you know, they're just listing too many products. And so now, you can still make money, but it'll be maybe 1,000, 2,000 a month profit. You know, it's still not bad, especially if you're very young, but nothing compared to, you know, building a brand or acquiring a brand. With Facebook, at one point, we were doing like between 7 and 10K profit a month. And it was
very nice,
all passive, like no ads or anything.
So what did you do? Like, what did you do was that time that you had?
So I started helping some of my friends, because this is when I first graduated school. You know, you remember like 2020, a lot of people were kind of trying to figure things out. So I started helping some of my friends because they were like, hey, how are you doing all of this? You know, how are you hiring these VAs? I just started helping my friends, and started even putting a little bit of content. I had like a small course on Facebook Marketplace helping people start their Facebook Marketplace thing, because it was just like, it was so easy, and not a lot of people were doing it.
Did you make a lot of money with courses?
Not really.
No?
Because I wasn't marketing it a lot. I wasn't marketing it a lot. And I still, even to this day, as of now, I haven't like nothing posted on Instagram. I've always been like a very kind of reserved, laid back person. So it was tough for me to like even get on social media and post about it. But it's something that I'm kind of changing and shifting my mindset on, because it's like, you can make a lot of money, but when you help other people, that's just the law of, you know, the law of nature. Like,
and you and in line of business that you're currently at, and we'll talk about that in a second, was like investment and developing relationships and getting in front of the right people, and you know, having like you know, introductions, and just like, you know, when you connect with someone, people already know about you up front. That opens many doors.
For sure. It's just a cheat code to be able to, you know, influence so many people. I
know you've had this very successful high ticket e-commerce brands. Like, what was the price point on that? Like,
average order value was about $3,000.
$3,000 e-commerce products. So this is fascinating. Tell me more. How did you get into that?
So let me tell you the full story. So with Facebook, we're doing really well. Well, for Facebook Marketplace, considering, you know, about 7 to 10K profit a month. I started hearing about Walmart Marketplace. Everybody was chatting about Walmart. So I said, what's this Walmart thing? And I told my VA once again, hey, do you know about Walmart? They started referring me to other Filipino VAs that they knew. You know.
Oh, interesting.
Basically what we did, we recruited people that were working for Walmart automation agencies. So we got them to come work for us and start our own store. And, you know, it started scaling up slow at first. I'm like, I'm not sure this is really that big. The next thing you know, it's like about April or May, right around April 2021. My VA listed like some swimming pools. and it did like 25K revenue in a week on Walmart.
On swimming pool, what kind of swimming pool?
Regular inflatable.
Oh, inflatable.
Yeah. So we were getting.
But that's seasonal. That probably was like before the summer, right?
Exactly, just a seasonal thing. But for me at the time, like, you know, coming from Facebook where you're doing maybe 20K, 30K at most in revenue a month, we had just done like 25K revenue in a week selling these pools.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy to me. It was like.
And what was the profit on that? Like, where did you get that product?
So we were getting from Amazon, so margins were already thin. But you know, I had actually a problem that caused, we scaled so fast, a lot of the orders actually we ended up having to cancel because we couldn't fulfill all of the orders. So I just started seeing my balance on Walmart, because they pay you every 2 weeks, kind of like Amazon. I just started seeing the balance slowly come down every day. I was, oh my God. I was like, oh man. But after that, you know, it was kind of a crazy situation. My mom actually was very sick at the time, so I had to go to France. So I'm in France at this time, not even in the States. And my mom was, you know, she was going through cancer treatment, crazy. And she ended up passing away like the same week that these numbers were just going up. So I was I think that actually kind of messed me up for life, because to this day, I'm so desensitized to money. Like, I'll see numbers on Shopify and it's just like, okay, cool. Or I just see, you know, because it was like, these numbers I was making the most money at the time that I ever made. But I saw, you know, my mom was literally passing away in front of me. So it was crazy. We ended up going to the funeral in Togo, and I come back, and, you know, Walmart basically was holding my money for a long time. The balance went down. They ended up finally releasing the funds. I have a bunch of swimming pools that they sent to my house. Big problem with Walmart is just the type of people that shop at Walmart, because they have physical stores, they'll go return the products to the physical stores. So a lot of the people that bought these pools, they started returning them to physical, you know, Walmart stores. Wow. Then Walmart has actually shipped the product back to you, you know. So the actual amount of pools that got shipped back to my house compared to the amount that we sold, and it just didn't add up. So some of the inventory didn't make it back to us. To this day, I still have some pools in one of my basements. It's crazy. I just gave my sister a pool the other day because she's like pregnant and, you know, she's dehydrated. So she wanted to be in a pool. But long story short, you know, come back and, you know, one of my friends posted, like you were saying, like the power of social media. One of my good friends, Phil, we were catching up, and he posted that I was, you know, just selling on Walmart and Facebook Marketplace. And my partner, the one that we were talking about, Daniel, that's how we met, through Phil, because Daniel wanted to get onto Facebook Marketplace, because I think he went to a mastermind here in Miami, and somebody was trying to charge him like 10K, 15K to tell him about Facebook Marketplace. So he contacted me, and we linked up that way. And you know, I was telling him about Facebook, how it all works. And he told me he had just done like 1.7 million selling, you know, some PPE stuff during the pandemic, like, you know, COVID stuff, basically. And I was like, wait, 1.7 million? Compared to, I'm like, wait, forget about Facebook. I was like, forget about Facebook Marketplace, Walmart, all that. Like, no, I want to learn about this Shopify stuff. Like, how are you doing all of this? He started telling me about Google Ads, Bing Ads. And one of his friends, Chris, really smart guy, Chris Nualor, he has a good Google Ads course. I took his course.
Chris what?
Nualor, Nwalor. I'm not even sure if I'm saying it right, but he's a Nigerian guy in Atlanta too. Very smart guy too. But so I took his Google Ads course. It's like my first time learning about Google Ads. I said, I like this, because, you know, you're able to basically, based on the monthly search volume, kind of see what's the cost per click. And, you know, kind of see how much traffic you will get. And so right around that time, as I took the course, I started, you know, doing some product research. And that's when I found the product that we were selling. And, you know, at the time, the monthly search volume was like 30,000 people were searching it on Google. Now, to this day, it might be a bit over 100,000 people are searching. So we got in, it was just perfect timing. So I found the product, got a quick website done, took the course. I spent like $200 on ads, made back 10,000 in revenue.
Holy shit.
That was like the first month. So, oh wow. So I called Daniel. I was like, Daniel, I think you want to see this, right? Like, I think there's like crazy potential here.
Which year was that? 2021?
2021.
So was this like still COVID? Like still,
yeah, kind of. So we're recovering at this point. At this point, it's like recovering from COVID, I would say, yeah. Because it was towards the end of 2021, like August 2021 is when I started actually. I think that. So first week of September, you know, because I literally linked up with Daniel. I'm like, yo, look at the numbers. Daniel calls Chris. Chris is like, oh wow, this is crazy. So Daniel starts working on the website because I wanted him to update the website because I'm like, this is cool, but I know you can do better because he's been in Israel a little bit longer and he's really good at building websites. We literally ate that night, the whole night we were just working. He updated the website. He got his Google Ads guy to do it, so I didn't have to worry about Google Ads anymore. I got a professional guy to do it. And first week, 100K in sales.
Wow.
It was crazy.
We usually sell products between like $50, $100, $150, $200, right? That's usually the range.
Right.
Do people go to like website and buy $3,000 products?
Right. It sounds crazy, right? But they do, especially if you have financing. So at the time, it's also about how you place your offer, how you actually structure your offer. So I noticed at the time that there was maybe 2 competitors, like serious ones. Yeah. And they had accessories that they were selling separately. So I bundled the accessories with the actual product itself, and then I added Klarna to the website. So at the time, the competitors were not using Klarna. We were the first ones to use like Klarna.
Oh, interesting. So
that obviously made things a lot easier because, people wanted to finance with Klarna. And the product that we were selling also was helping people make money. So they were renting these out and making money out. So,
the ROI kind of aspect of it.
Exactly. So they were like, I can pay X amount on Klarna, $200, $300 a month on Klarna. Yeah. But I'm making $200 an hour renting this out. So it was more of a B2B type of thing.
Interesting. So how much revenue did you do with that?
We did 2 million. We did the first million in 6 months, and then about 2 million total year one, first year. Yeah, so it scaled up pretty fast, but then that's when I learned.
Was it profitable?
It was very profitable. The first million was extremely profitable. Second million canceled out the first million. The second million canceled out the first million. So we made a big mistake of one of the problems that happens with high ticket is the cost. So not only the cost of goods sold, but like just fulfilling it, because it's a heavy, bulky item. So just getting it to our warehouse was a problem when we had to do air, shipping, because it's like 50 pounds plus.
From China?
From China, correct.
Oh, wow. How much shipping on that was?
It was crazy, like a couple $100 per unit. Right, on top of the actual product price. But we said, okay, well, let's just get this cost per unit down and import a whole container. Yeah. So we imported a whole container on a ship. And in 2022, I don't know if you remember last year.
Oh, the crazy shipping costs.
Freight forwarding, all that was at literally historically high prices. Yeah. So we paid a lot to actually get the container to our warehouse. It was like just the freight forward, it was like maybe 25K. Then we had about 500K worth of inventory coming. So
500 Gs.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we filled the warehouse with this inventory, and it was going really well because now we're like, okay, we got all this inventory here. We're like the only people doing 2-day shipping. Because we're doing like freight shipping. So like an actual truck will come. You have to put it on a pallet to make sure that it doesn't get damaged because it's a bulky item, right? So a lot of costs started coming in, and one of the mistakes we did also, big mistake, like we'll talk about this later, but if you're looking to build something that you can exit, you want to make sure that your books are extremely clean. So we had an accountant, a bookkeeper that we found on Upwork, but this guy was not really he outsourced the work to some other guys and was not even checking what they were doing. And we were so busy just constantly dealing with growth and all of that, and we didn't have that much experience scaling that fast that we realized maybe 6 months later, this QuickBooks is not making sense. So I had to go pay somebody else to go fix all of that. Wow. And so, yeah, that was a big lesson there.
Was he embezzling money?
He wasn't even embezzling money. He was we were paying him a really decent amount, like 20 plus an hour. And he was just outsourcing the work to like maybe some guys doing it for like $3-4 an hour. And he wasn't even bothering to check their work, so it was crazy. Wow. It was crazy. And we were so like busy, growing and seeing all these numbers coming in. Like, it was like money's coming in, that we weren't really like focused on all of that, like making sure how much of this are we actually keeping. But yeah, so we got all that inventory in the warehouse, started shipping things out. It was great. But then in around, was it July of 2022, Klarna made all merchants update the app in Shopify. So I kid you not, ever since we updated that Klarna app on our Shopify store, nobody was getting approved to buy with Klarna. and nobody was getting. And so I started. We just couldn't understand what was going on. Like we're here trying to figure out the website. Like
wow.
And then it was like, no, people are adding to cart. People are trying to check out, and then we just realized like they just can't.
If you think of the history, I remember I was reading about it. Maybe it's around the same time where
correct.
Klarna like valuation was like 50, 60 billion, like dropped to like 5.
Exactly.
Right, because they were like over leveraged.
Exactly.
Kind of giving loans to anyone. A lot of people probably couldn't. Defaulted on their loans.
Yeah. It probably wouldn't be ideal if it's your first brand, to be honest, to do something high ticket, just because, or if you don't have like experience at least with some other business where you have to manage a decent amount of money, because everybody makes mistakes usually with their first few brands, right? Or especially their first brand. But if your numbers are multiplied by, instead of your average order value being 300 is 3,000, naturally your mistakes will also be multiplied. So that's the thing that you have to be careful with, for sure.
Wow. So what happened? Did you manage to sell out the inventory?
No. So basically, after Q4 of 2022, what we started seeing was competitors were slowly going out of business, and we started thinking, what are we gonna do here? Because this inventory, it's not like we just paid cash. We got some debt on this inventory as well.
Yeah.
Which I was personally liable for. So we started kind of, thinking like, what do we do here? And this is where my partner Daniel and I started kind of having some issues, because I started saying, okay, like if we keep spending money on ads this way and we're not profitable, like what's happening is the debt, the creditors, they're increasing the interest. So we're gonna keep selling some of this inventory, right? And still have the same amount of debt, if not more.
Wow.
And that's actually possible because we weren't selling fast enough. So like there's companies like 8Fig that will finance your inventory. You have to be very careful with those. Very careful. Like if
tell me about it. Tell for people watching, right? So maybe we'll help someone to make better decision.
Sure. So those companies like 8Fig specifically, at least, right? They can be very useful. And what they do is they tell you that it's flexible financing. Basically they have a dashboard where you upload each SKU that you want financing for, how many units you need. And they kind of give you a plan. But the problem is it's not like Shopify Capital or Clearco where they give you an exact amount of how much interest you're paying. Okay,
you borrow like $100,000, you're paying like, let's say $10,000 or $15,000 extra. That's what you gotta pay, right?
So typically that's how it should be.
Yeah.
But with them, they don't even give you a clear interest amount like that. It's more so, okay, this is your payment plan if you pay it in this time frame. Now, when you don't pay in that time frame and it keeps going, that's when they basically start refinancing the plan.
Oh, and increasing the interest?
Exactly. The more you refinance, the interest goes. Then
how higher it can go?
It can be crazy. So I was talking to one of them actually when I was telling them, hey, look, basically I don't want to sell all of this inventory at a loss. Like I'm basically doing. This is when I started acquiring other businesses. I was like, at this point, I was willing to just acquire other things, make money from other places, just to not have to rely just on that inventory. Because I was like, if I rely just on this inventory to pay this, it may take too long, right? And I may sell the inventory and still be in debt. And that's what I really wanted to avoid. So I told him, hey, if I take an extra 6 months to pay $500K, how much extra actual interest will you add? And I kid you not, they quoted me about $100K. I said, I was like, you're not serious. Like this is not serious, right? This is just not. It doesn't make sense. But this one I had to start getting lawyers involved.
Oh wow! Yeah, this is crazy.
Because it was just like, come on, like it doesn't make sense. But this is where you have to be very careful. Like you need to get a really good bookkeeper. If you're doing even $1 million revenue plus, you might want to consider maybe having like a partial CFO, a fractional CFO helping you out with kind of cash flow projections, because if you got 8Fig, Clearco, Shopify Capital, all of these, if your capital stack is kind of layered like that, you got Shopify taking 19% of your revenue, Clearco taking 15% of your revenue. It's like there's no profit left at the end of the day if you're not careful, basically. And so that's where you have to start saying, okay, how to structure your capital to where you're actually profitable at the end of the day. But long story short, what I ended up doing was, okay, pause all ads. I had issues with my partner, and we kind of went separate ways because it was like all the liability was on me. And I was even at one point kind of paying employees out of my own pockets. And it was just like, this is at the same time I'm meeting the guy from Resale Gyms, for example, who wanted me to acquire, a good amount of the business. And like, this thing might actually stop me from actually doing what I've always wanted to do, which is acquire businesses and sell businesses. So that's kind of when we kind of parted ways. I had to just put everything on pause because I was just overwhelmed. Like, I was completely burnt out. And honestly, I was very upset that after all of us working so much, we weren't able to exit for a profit. I wasn't okay with just selling, for like 10K, 20K, whatever. Like we had a competitor I told you about that kind of ripped the product, copied everything. They ended up doing even more revenue than us. They did 3 million in revenue just to sell later for like 25K, which to me didn't make sense. Like, it's just, so it was like I couldn't just take that loss.
How is that? It's okay. Give me like, you mentioned the search volume for that particular product, that particular category. It's like 100,000 visitors per month,
right?
And like no one is able to sell it successfully.
So there was a few things happening that really kind of made that product difficult to sell. Suppliers themselves were the greediest. I think, to be honest, suppliers are the ones that messed up.
The manufacturers?
Yeah, they started selling. They're still to this day selling right now. But directly running Google ads in the US market. And they'll message me every night like, we have photo booths, we have a warehouse in the USA. They're so happy about the warehouses in the USA. You know how they are on Alibaba. They'll be like, yeah, USA warehouse. So they have warehouses in the USA now. They have stock inventory in the US. Granted, quality is a lot lower, but still, they're selling. Well, not our manufacturers specifically, but other suppliers, from China. So they're selling to the US market at wholesale price, basically. So it's really hard now for somebody to sell that same product for 3K. Because everybody's like, well, we can just go buy from even if it's lower quality.
Yeah.
So the only way to really differentiate the offer completely, have some kind of, course or digital product attached to it along with software.
Yeah.
That's nothing that I realized. Two big learning lesson here was to diversify faster and to innovate faster or acquire faster. So
Can you repeat that? So
yeah.
Diversify faster,
innovate faster, or acquire faster. So those are three ways that would have actually made that business, instead of just being stuck at 2 million, could have went to 5 or 10.
How would you like, knowing what you know now, obviously it's easy to kind of like, how would you like, let's say you have this like a case study like this, what do you do differently?
Diversify the actual product faster. So we were selling one type of, it was a photo booth. Just waiting about it. It was a photo booth. So we're selling photo booth, right? Instead of selling only that photo booth, there are a lot of other types of photo booths that we could have been selling. So that's what I mean by diversifying.
But you'd have dropped money on the inventory for those products too, right?
We that's true. We would have eventually had to, or we could have kind of drop shipped them as well. But yes, technically that means we would have maybe needed to drop more money on inventory. That's very true. But the really, really big thing that we even had this on our roadmap was there's a lot of money in the hardware, but there's even more money in the software. So the software that people use to actually run the photo booth is not cheap, right? So we actually had a partnership with the software where people were getting like 30-day free trials that bought a photo booth from us, right? But they were paying after the 30 days over $140 a month to use the software for their photo booth.
Is it some kind of fancy software?
It's kind of fancy, but it's not, we would have needed to drop maybe 100K to develop that.
To develop the software.
Right, which, look, going back is not, when we did maybe from August to December, I think we did like about 400K profit, close to 400K.
Oh, wow.
Because our margins were crazy the first few months because we were not buying a bunch of inventory, we were just drop shipping. And then we started sending it to our warehouse and then sending it from the warehouse. But ad costs are also pretty low because there wasn't that much competition. So we could have, innovated faster and, had that software, because then we realized what was keeping those two oldest companies in the game was they weren't just selling the photo booths. Every time they sold a photo booth, these people were also using their software. So they had that recurring revenue. So
interesting.
So we sold about, let's say, 700, 800 photo booths, right? So imagine now you have people paying you 100, each of those paying you 100 a month. That would have been able to solve for any kind of cash flow problem.
Oh, wow. 70, yes, it's like 70, 80 G. I mean, it's even like, let's say 100 Gs.
Right.
A month.
Right.
Wow.
So that would have been the way to kind of, diversify and avoid.
That's such a good, wow.
And then acquiring. So actually when I saw that kind of talked about it yesterday. One of the brokers, our website closers, emailed me about the competitor being for sale. We were actually thinking about acquiring them, right? Because we knew that they were going to sell as a huge discount, and then we could get their customer base.
They were also like going out of business pretty much. That's just like,
for sure. They just wanted to get out.
Wow.
They just wanted to get out because it was getting really tough, very tough, because at first it was just, we're young and we're printing money, it seems. Just wake up and, one sale is literally 3K. One of our products was 5K. So imagine you gotta find out. So it was just crazy. But then, we didn't have experience in that industry of photo booth specifically, whereas some competitors have been in the industry for 10 years. So they were really like committed to that industry. They weren't necessarily e-commerce guys, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the last thing was, acquiring faster, because one thing actually helped one of my friends. So we wanted content for people that actually rent photo booths. And we were working on putting out a course for people that rent photo booths, to help people actually rent photo booths. So I started connecting with people that actually have rental businesses. I met a guy that was doing pretty well, like 15 events plus a week, renting out these photo booths. And, this is basically pure profit because, if you're charging $200-300 an hour, you're paying your attendants maybe $20 an hour. So all of that is your profit margin. So I was talking to him, and, he told me he wanted to diversify. He's been in the photo booth game 5-6 years. I said, have you ever thought about buying a business? So we found actually a local DJ business, because he was doing photo booths, he was doing catering, but he wasn't doing DJ events. But a lot of times when people have an event and they want a photo booth, let's say it's your wedding, birthday party, graduation, a lot of times they also want a DJ. So it just made sense for him to actually acquire that DJ business. So we found a local DJ business in Atlanta. They had been around like 20 plus years. They were doing 300 events a year.
Oh, wow.
So
how much is each event?
It depends, because sometimes it was business versus like individuals. Anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 per event they were doing.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
and what's the cost like?
So they were just the freelancers that they were using, that they were paying, and they were paying their freelancers $20-25 an hour.
Really?
Yes.
You can hire a DJ for like freelancers for like $20 per hour?
Yeah.
Really?
And the thing too is,
let's get a full-time DJ in the office.
and they also, because they've been in business 20 years, so they have very loyal people that they were working with, who they probably didn't increase their salaries for quite some time, if that makes sense. And, well, they're freelancers, so not salary, but hourly pay. It was crazy. It was crazy because to go from kind of all of the ups and downs, the past couple of years, it was crazy to, at one point, I remember, Clerical, sometimes they give you soft valuations. It's not like real, right? Because, it's not like an actual broker that give you a real valuation to sell. But it still kind of is nice to kind of see how much your business could potentially be valued at. I remember at one point it was all the way to 7 million.
Oh, wow.
Just because of how fast we were growing. Once again, not real. Right? We were not going to get anywhere close to that because we weren't even 2 years old as a company. But seeing that, to go from having a business potentially worth 7 million, right, at 22 to, then being in debt over 500K, like a few months, or maybe a year and a half after, was crazy to me. Crazy. But then it made me really sit and think, okay, well, how to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Like how to make sure that I can profitably exit anything that I ever put this much time into. Right? And that's when I started kind of shifting from, instead of starting a brand from scratch every time, how can I acquire something where there's already a buyer, kind of built in. I just have to add more value to get basically it's basically flip that business, right? So then I learned more.
Flip. Oh, interesting. Flip that business.
Right, because there's, I learned more about like where to get buyers, what buyers are looking for in e-commerce businesses, and how e-commerce businesses sell for multiples of profit and things like that, right? So what I look for basically is to get a business for less than 2.5 the multiple of the annual profit. Then I actually grow that business as close as I can to 7 figures in profit. Because I know that once it gets to 7 figures in profit, there's a different type of buyer actually buying that business. These are other private equity firms, right? And they're not paying 2.5x, they're paying 3.5, 4, sometimes 5x, right? And so not only am I getting that cash flow from running the business, but then also, there's also that multiple arbitrage where instead of, you know, that 2.5, you're now getting 4x the multiple of your annual earnings.
Tell us about like, it's like, just give an example, right? Like $1 million business, right? Let's say business sells for $1 million. It's not like you're taking the $1 million bucks out of your pocket. Here's $1 million, count it, you know? There's like very interesting creative financing strategies that could be utilized.
For sure. That's when things get really fun. Deal structuring. And there's a saying that I've been really kind of living by. And when I talk to sellers, it's like, you can have your price, but it's gonna be my terms. And I'm not the only person, you know, that's saying this. A few people like are you know, kind of saying this, and it makes sense, right? Because we can have, let's say, $1 million. Let's say you want $1 million for your business. Yeah. Let's say that it's doing 300K to keep things simple in terms of profit. Okay, that's fine. You can get the $1 million. But let's say we go SBA route, then granted you do have to do a personal guarantee. You do usually have to put down 10% with the SBA. You basically be owning a $1 million business for 100K, right? And then you still have to service that.
How long that? Okay, let's say that. So let's say you put 100K in just for illustration purposes. You owed like $900,000. Right. Like, how many years that $900,000 split for?
So SBA is 10 years. SBA is usually 10 years, and interest rates are still kind of going up. You know, so right now it's about 10% interest rate on. So you get 10 years to pay off that loan. But the thing is, it's kind of like buying a real estate or buying a house where you're building equity by making those payments and bringing that debt down. And if at the same time you're adding value to the business,
so the value of the business increases.
Exactly, you're building serious equity there. But honestly, personally, I don't use the SBA that much, at least for e-commerce, because let's say you have a deal on Website Closers or Empire Flippers with other interested buyers. If it's a really good deal, the broker is not going to want to go SBA route.
Because it will take time.
It takes too long. It takes, you know, some 90 days, sometimes even faster, and sometimes even longer. So there's other options, like we were talking about Boopos earlier. They're based out of Miami too, at least their US office. Really, really good option because there's no personal guarantee. And essentially what they do is they give you 4x leverage on whatever funds you have. So if you have $250,000 in your bank account, they'll give you up to $1 million to actually go acquire businesses, right? And all they do is they look at the past 2 years of the business, the performance. They match the P&L with the actual payment processors to make sure that all the money is adding up. And then they give you a term sheet, and then it's up to you to say, okay, well, if I'm approved for $1 million, do I want to take the full $1 million, or do I just want to take $500,000? And then find other investors to come in, right, to kind of make up for the difference, because it can get a bit expensive if you take, you know, Boopos will give you usually about 6 years to pay off the loan, right? And then you have two options: revenue share, where they take a percentage of your revenue, you know, which that way it's like it's not coming out, it's not a fixed, right? So it's just depending on how much money you make, you actually pay them. But then that can also be dangerous if you want to scale the business, but you're constantly giving a percentage of the revenue away. You got to be careful there. That's why I don't recommend to take the full amount. But now they just introduce a fixed rate amount as well, so it's kind of more close to the SBA thing where you know exactly what your payment is every month.
So you mentioned you're in touch with like a lot of buyers, you know, people that are buying, like for instance, like e-commerce businesses. So for people listening, what would you recommend, like maybe like 80-20, right? Let's say, you know, I have good enough business already. I took it off the ground, right? I want to sell it like in 1 year, 2 years, like let's say in some time frame for like, let's say, you know, $1 million or like $10 million. What would be the 80-20 of this? Like what would be like few key things that you would recommend for that business owner to focus on to increase the value of that business?
That's a great question. So if you know that you kind of are looking to exit, that's actually the best thing. Like you want to first of all sell while it's going up, right? You want to sell while your profits, your revenue is still going up, and you want to leave some meat on the bone for the next buyer. You don't want to take advantage of every single thing. So essentially, if you can develop a roadmap, let's say you're doing $1 million in revenue, and you think that you can get to $2 million, you want to have that whole roadmap kind of planned out, but not actually execute on every single thing, execute on the things that you can do, so that
you just get them like excited. Okay, here's what like you can do. You can do this and this and this, and like you visualize it too. So it's like
exactly.
It's like all you have to do is like it's like,
Exactly. But in terms of like, you know, specific like actionable items, if you just start going down and look at, okay, what's my average order value compared to what's my cost to acquire customer? If your cost to acquire customer is starting to creep up and it's constantly going up, you're going to want to find something to mitigate that risk. Because any sophisticated buyer is going to look at your business and say, what's your cost to acquire customer?
Yeah.
What's your average order value? And what's your lifetime value of your customer? And if those numbers are not making sense, they're either not going to buy or they're going to want to, you know, pay you a lot less. So they're going to give you like a deal structure where you're getting a lot less down, or they're forcing you to stay on for a year or 2 years to get the rest of your money. And so you want to make sure that you have some good organic traffic happening, a lot of repeat customers coming. And that mitigates that kind of cost to acquire customer, because we all know ad costs can only go up.
Yeah.
They never stay the same. They never go down. That's literally only go up.
Yeah.
And so really having like a good plan to take advantage of, you know, your current customers that you have, so that your current customers that you already paid for can come back and give you more revenue, more profits, because you're not really paying for that. Another thing is the books. You want to make sure that, you know, you have something like QuickBooks connected, and that you're keeping really, really clean books. The e-commerce accountants, those guys are pretty good. I know you know those guys as well. I recommend them for sure. They'll keep your books extremely clean. And then tax returns as well. You want to make sure that you have those tax returns. It's okay because everybody knows that, you know, as business owners, you know, you'd want to pay as little tax as possible. So sometimes people get a bit worried that, oh, you know, my taxes are not really matching exactly my actual P&L. That's okay as long as, you know, you're doing everything legally. They'll understand that you're trying to, you know, mitigate your taxes, right?
Yeah.
So as long as everything is done legally and you can, you know, prove why you did everything that you did with your tax person or your CPA, it's gonna be fine. But definitely making sure that your books are clean, making sure that, you know, you have something to mitigate that cost to acquire a customer, whether it's organic traffic or repeat customers. Those are gonna be big. And then if you really want to kind of go to the next step, is okay, if you're in an industry selling maybe pet products, right?
Yeah.
But you're only selling on Amazon, you might want to consider finding another brand for sale that is selling direct to consumer. Because if you acquire them, not only will you be now making more money, more cash flow, but you also have increased the value of your business. And then you also start talking about that arbitrage multiple. Like you're arbitraging that multiple because now you're making more. You have a company that's just earning more money per year. So there's that multiple arbitrage there, where if you were getting maybe 2.5x before, because you're only doing, let's say, 250K, let's say now you're at 500, 600K, now the multiple is going up. And so that's how you can kind of strategically increase and maximize your exit value.
And if you think about it, like there is, you know, all big companies like, you know, Procter and Gamble, like, you know, Nestle, like all these like big like conglomerates, like the way they grow their businesses is by acquisition. Like yeah, we can spend another like 30 years building this business, or you know, let's just buy it, you know. And so
exactly, and there's only two ways to grow. It's through acquisition or through innovation. That's literally, it's only two ways. And you know, even Amazon, they've done a lot of acquisitions themselves. You know, even Apple, Facebook,
and some bad acquisitions too. You know, like Amazon did like what, diapers.com. Yeah, they did quite a few bad ones as well.
For sure.
So not every acquisition will probably work out, obviously, you know.
Sure. I've done one bad one myself. Actually, the first one I did was all cash, right? But the big mistake that I did there, this was a really small acquisition. I paid like $8,000 for a content website. Content websites, you want to be careful there, unless they're at least like 10 years old. Because, you know, Google changes anything with, then, you know, your traffic, you kind of lost your traffic, you know, overnight.
So you bought it, and what happened?
So I bought a website, $8,000. The mistake I did not negotiate the deal structure properly. So now, whenever I buy a deal, I make sure that the seller stays on for at least a year, so that his interests are aligned with mine. So I usually give them anywhere from 40 to 60% of the actual value down. But if they want the rest, there's usually a performance-based kind of incentive there. So with that guy, I just gave him the 8K, and the website was in like 40K a year. So I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, such a good deal.
Such a good
on paper, right?
Right. So I just gave him 8K, and then after he received his 8K, a few weeks later, I'm on WhatsApp like, yo, and he kind of slowly disappears, right? And so now I'm left with his team that's also slowly kind of being less and less responsive and things like that. But I also, in his defense, I wasn't as focused on that website because I had other deals kind of in the pipeline. And I was constantly looking at other deals. So the transition, very, very, very important things when you're buying a business. That transition period of those first couple of weeks is important. If you're not actively kind of introducing yourself, meeting the team members, and of course making sure that the deal structure is correct so that the seller stays on to support you during that transition period. The seller has been working on this business for years. They're tired. They finally got they just want to go take a vacation. So if you don't kind of negotiate that up front, you're going to be left with somebody else's business that you don't fully understand yet necessarily. And their team may not be there to support you if they're not also there, if the previous owner is not also there. So that's the one bad deal that I did. Then after that was the e-commerce deal, like the 17-year-old e-commerce company. Great deal. That was a perfect deal in my opinion. I'm looking for more deals like that currently.
Like, can you tell me more about, I mean, you have still the name of the brand, but can you tell me like kind of details of...
Sure. So this business is it's a business basically kind of lower ticket. Average order value is like $150, but it was very old. The seller had been running this for 16 years at the time when I acquired it. And so
where did you find a deal?
Found that one on Flippa, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Found that one on Flippa, but I will say Flippa has some good deals, but you have to filter through a lot of deals because they're not like other brokers with like website closes where the broker actually vets the deal. Flippa is more of a marketplace. So it's more of a seller kind of saying, this is how much I'm making. This is, so you have to really vet that.
And they might be lying.
Exactly. The good thing about Flippa though, at least with Shopify stores, they connect, Flippa, there's a Flippa app that it can connect to your Shopify store. So you can see directly from Shopify the actual revenue. But that's just the revenue. In terms of the profit, you're going to want to make sure you go into the books, you go into, QuickBooks, and you go into the bank statements and things like that. Now I have a tax auditor that can actually look at the bank statements, look at the payment processors and actually make sure that all the money is there. But what that deal specifically found it on Flippa, 16 years old, they were doing $300K a year. And what got me was the margin was 50% profit.
Wow.
And for e-commerce, that's pretty crazy. So
no ads at all, right? No ads?
Oh yeah, no ads. They were not running any ads out. It was all organic. So
okay, 300K. So the business owner was making like 150K a year in profit.
Correct.
That's life changing for a lot of people.
Correct.
So it's like,
correct.
And most people, like, it's not like everyone has this like ambition to buy like Procter and Gamble or like big build the biggest like massive brands. Some people just like start a business, and this is I think where a lot of opportunity is, right? Like these businesses, like business owners, like burnt out.
Exactly.
Like they don't want to run it, but they have very good fundamental things in place.
Right.
that make it like great like acquisition target.
Exactly.
So what were the terms of that deal?
So basically gave him did a seller financing.
Oh, that's
right.
Wow.
We did a seller finance, but there was some cash involved, right? So he did get about 40% of the full valuation. So he wanted to sell for about 350K. So we got about 30 to 40% of that upfront. And then we told him, hey, depending on how this goes, we want you to stay on for at least a year. Because we're gonna scale this up. And he was picking up the inventory from 2 local suppliers in California, and he was shipping it out himself with his wife. So I was like, okay, we'll need your support with fulfillment for the first 90 days. That way we just focus on scaling things up, understanding, how to integrate a team with this business, because he wasn't doing any email marketing.
Oh, wow. That is crazy.
And email marketing for some stores, it can even bring up to 30% of your revenue sometimes, right? So
wow.
No Facebook ads, no Google, none of that. So that was a deal structure. You got about 40% cash down. You had to stay on for a year to get the rest. And the business couldn't drop by any more than 10% in terms of performance.
Wow.
Otherwise, then his earnout would be affected.
Uh-huh.
And so I learned my lesson from that first deal, right? But this guy was really cool. Like, he's very helpful, even always giving us ideas. And what I like about M&A, it was, I was telling you yesterday, you learn from these partners because he's been in business for years, right?
Yeah.
Granted, he did not evolve with technology.
Yeah.
That's a great opportunity. Like you were saying, there's these older businesses here. Of course, if a business is 15, 20 years old, the owner probably also did not evolve with the technology.
And they're probably 40 in their 40s or 50s, right? Like they're like, you know, there's no like, you know,
Exactly.
learning curve for them. Is just like the way it like just moves too fast, like new technologies, new social media platforms, like new things, like they just like, you know,
Exactly.
more like old school guys.
Exactly. So that was perfect deal there, because you literally cannot lose money. Because even if we're not spending anything on ads, just from Google organically, you know, we're doing decent numbers.
Did you start spending money on ads?
Yeah, we started on Google first. Because I love Google ads.
Yeah.
Just from that last experience.
A lot of intent in Google, right? Like in Google, people specifically looking for something. Google shopping, people like in a buying mode. So the conversion rates there are great.
Exactly. So I'll give you the full roadmap that we have. We're looking at 2 or 3x this year. We're on track to definitely at least 2x. I think with Q4 we might be able to, if we fully take advantage, completely 3x the business.
Kind of like gifts, products are giftable, right?
Exactly. The good thing too is these are personalized products as well.
So nice.
So it's a pretty nice offer. And yeah, we think we might be able to 3x it. And then we have one competitor that is actually selling in retail, like physical locations, right? Like in malls and things like that. So that's where I see, okay, remember I said you want to leave some meat on the bone. You don't want to execute the whole roadmap. We want to 3x, start actually building relationships with some of these retailers.
Yeah.
And just get one retailer to start, you know, having our brand there.
Get some proof of concept, and then like, hey, you can expand it within retail, you can expand it like through other.
Exactly. But we don't even have experience doing all of that, right? But I identify some private equity companies that have e-commerce brands that they took to retailers. So we basically have a built-in buyer already if we're able to get into that first retailer.
For organic, for this brand in particular, the organic traffic, you mean like search engine optimization, Google traffic?
Google, yeah.
Wow.
Because, you know, it's 16, now 17 years old.
Domain is very old, trusted by Google.
Exactly.
Most entrepreneurs watching this, like 50-60% of like, or, you know, 100% of like traffic comes from Facebook.
Right.
Something happens with Facebook.
Exactly.
There's no business, like, you know, so that's where the point that you said about diversification comes in very handy. It's like, look at other platforms, look at Google, definitely. I mean, Google is a must. Potentially Amazon, it also can be great like value add, because 30-40% of consumers, they will never buy stuff anywhere else besides Amazon.
Right.
So they would see the name of your brand and they'll go on Amazon and they'll buy it there. So having this a great ecosystem, and if you build it on top of the like, as you said, organic, right? If you're able to acquire a brand within your niche, like that is like organic, like wow, that just like stacks up very nice, and the growth is exponential.
Exactly, and you know, it's easier to resell because, you know, the buyers also see that you have all of that organic traffic. Yeah, you know, it takes time for organic, right? So if you're able to take what somebody else has they already took the time, like literally 17 years. I'm only 23, right? So
you were 6 years old, like that.
So it's like, if you can leverage somebody else's time and kind of add value there, the sky is the limit. You just have to be a little bit creative.
What happened with the content website? Like
the content one, I just let go of it.
Yeah.
Because it was like, first of all, I also made the mistake of buying something in an industry where I don't have that much experience. That's why now I look at a lot of other stuff, right? So that's why I tell a lot of my guys in Ecom, like, you have all of the skills. You may not know how to raise capital yet. You may not know how to structure a deal yet, but you can learn that. That's a skill that you can learn. But private equity guys will never learn e-commerce the way you know e-commerce.
Oh, no, there's no. I mean, it's not. I mean, they don't have to.
Exactly.
They don't have to.
That's been a blessing for me too. Is like kind of starting out with the e-commerce stuff, having some investors invest in some of the brands. They got their return. So now I've kind of had a decent track record where it's a lot easier to raise money now. And we can talk a bit about like where to find investors as well.
Let's talk about that.
Cool. So so this is great because Another thing you want to do too, if you need to raise money, like you know that you're not going to do an all cash deal or SBA or Bupos or whatever, and you need some private investors, you want to find the private investors first, actually see what kind of deals they are willing to invest in or that they've already invested in. That way you bring them deals that you already know is
match what they're looking for.
Exactly. So you save yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of time. But there's a place like AngelList where you can see what kind of businesses people are already invested in. There's also a really cool thing. We were talking about it at the conference yesterday. There's a 24-year-old guy in the group that he connected with search funds. So search funds are basically funds where they just pull a bunch of money together to go and find businesses to acquire. So they haven't even found a deal yet. They just have funds kind of on standby for them to go find a deal. And once they find a deal, they actually acquire it.
Yeah.
So if you actually go just look up search funds, they have meetups sometimes in your local area. Just Google a bunch of search funds, look at what kind of deals they're potentially looking for, connect with them, say, hey, you know, I might even be able to help you find other deals. It might not be my deal.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're connected with these investors, you know what they're looking for. That's what the 24-year-old guy did. He actually saw that they had these search funds that were not doing any events locally. He partnered up with them to actually help them do more events. They ended up giving him 50% of the whole business of like running events.
Wow.
So this guy is making money to raise capital for his own deals. So that's kind of the shit that I've kind of had also in the past years. Like, I'm not just in the business of e-commerce anymore. I'm in the business of acquisitions. So that means for everything from raising capital to deals being brokered here, you know, that's when I got into helping broker deals.
Yeah.
I just want to be in the business of acquisition. So the more you can get yourself involved in, okay, every transaction that's happening, whether it's helping somebody raise capital, helping a seller go find a buyer, helping a buyer find a seller, even if it's not your deal, you know, you're able to get closer and kind of build your network that way. But LinkedIn is also very powerful because there's investors there. But you know, AngelList is a really good one because you literally see what kind of deals people are investing in. And search funds are also great because they would have capital. If they don't deploy that capital, they're basically losing money.
Inflation.
So search funds are great to connect with.
Search funds, yeah,
because they're literally just searching for businesses to buy. And you can create your own search fund as well. There's people that, and it's crazy because like Harvard Business School, they actually have like a program on acquisition entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You know, like they teach these things to private equity guys, investment banking guys, but even for us that went to like either smaller schools or that didn't go to school at all, it's like we don't really know that much about this whole industry when it's like there's literally people out here that are not starting anything from scratch, you know, like, and it's funny because most private equity guys, like the biggest private equity companies, KKR is one of them. They've never started a business from scratch. They started their private equity company, but these guys never started.
Interesting. Wow.
It's crazy to me. It's really crazy. But yeah, in terms of investors like AngelList, you know, LinkedIn, Bupos is a really good one if you want to actually go, you know, kind of do a deal yourself. SBA might work, but just being completely transparent, it's tough to do deals with SBA these days.
Yeah.
You know, it's still possible, right? But if it's a really, really competitive deal, somebody like us, you know, if we have we're probably going to win that deal versus somebody that's doing SBA.
You've been in our ecosystem in like ESS, right, for some time. What were the major like things that you benefited from, like that helped you?
Honestly, at first, when I first on ESS, I wasn't as active as I am now, like kind of actively building connections, right? So some of those I could have prevented myself just from kind of going out and meeting other guys. But I think also sometimes making money, well, like when I learned that like making money sometimes it can even make you a bit lazy. You're making 200K revenue a month or whatever, and it's like you feel like you kind of know a lot of things. You don't want to innovate as much or go acquire things just because it's kind of comfortable. But ESS helped a lot with like team building, like a lot, because one of the things I always struggled with was finding good media buyers, finding, you know, good, you know, people that can just come in our team and help us out. And the freelancers that are basically vetted by ESS, that are kind of are in the community, you basically already know that these guys are serious because they've worked with other 7- and 8-figure brand owners, and that saves us so much time because I hate hiring and firing. That was like we literally wasted 100K hiring and firing before actually just going and finding people from ESS that are already vetted. So literally just from being in ESS, we saved, you know, 100K that we would have wasted just hiring and firing people. So I think having access to like these freelancers that are already vetted is great. And then also just a network of other individuals that are doing 7 and 8 figures. It's like when I was going through those difficult times of like just all the debt, seeing the business kind of go down, it was good to kind of see like other people are still doing good like this, and other people went through similar things and everyone's come out on top on the other side. So just that community, and you know, there's always, you know, secret kind of secret sauce, secret tips that are being dropped in there. But advertorials, for example, was the reason why I joined ESS 3.0, right? Learned a lot with advertorials.
And VSLs are coming as well. Like, so these are like literally what we will also working on something on the back end, like a software to help, you know, like write these things and like streamline the whole process. But yeah, it's like the advantage, giving the advantage. What is the advantage that you could use in the current marketplace with the current competition to give you the edge?
Exactly.
That's pretty much it.
And that's what you need these days, because e-commerce is becoming very competitive. I have some friends these days who try and say, you know, I want to start but have like zero experience, and I'm like, are you sure? It's like, you know, you're gonna, if you're really serious, make sure that at least you go join other people that are serious, because if you try to figure it out yourself, it's just not gonna happen. It's gonna take you 5 years, you know. You're gonna waste a bunch of time, like when somebody could have just saved you all of this time, right? So definitely, like if you're brand new, go join somebody that's, you know, already like has already done it. And even if you're doing 7 figures, right, go join somebody that's, you know, doing 8 figures. Because it's the only way to kind of, you know, bridge that gap. Without making like crazy mistakes. It's even with you know, private equity, like that's why I came here also for the conference, and I was talking to people that they're taking companies public. You know, one guy was worth like 800 million. It was crazy.
Wow.
Seeing that kind of gives me also motivation to go back, and they give me tips, like even on like tax saving strategies. That was really cool. Like offshore stuff and everything, like really cool stuff. So I think it's a must. Like you have to get around other people that are doing really well, and ESS really like projected us, I think, to just different levels. And now that this network is kind of around us, I honestly feel like there's nothing that we cannot do. You know, whether it's from acquisitions or there's literally nothing that we can't do now.
Awesome, man. I mean, I learned so much through this conversation, so thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
To the office. I mean, and you go explore some Miami stuff. Yeah,
I think I'm gonna check out some things later with my friend. But thanks for having me, though. This is
Adonis,
amazing,
my man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll have Adonis information. Like he's actively looking into deals, so potentially if you want him to, you know, potentially even buy your company, or if that's something that's interesting, just, you know, initiate the conversation with him. Or if you have any questions, just reach out and he'll be able to help. He's looking to grow his network, buyers, sellers, you know, just, you know, make things happen. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Adonis, thank you, my man.
Thank you.